Hello there, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Yaritza and I have not vlogged in a very long time. I was looking through my videos and I saw that I haven't vlogged since January. So last time y'all saw me, I was like 6 or 7 months pregnant. So if you are a regular viewer, thank you for tuning in. I'm going to recap just what's been going on these last few months. Of course, starting with the birth of my baby, going back to work, and what I'll be doing this upcoming school year because it's just been a lot of change. So I'm gonna try to chunk this video up into like those parts. So I don't blame y'all if y'all just want to fast forward to what I'm going to be doing this school year, but I absolutely love talking about my birth, so I'm going to start there. I'm going to try to like keep it short, but I love talking about my birth. I had a very positive birth, and I don't think I mentioned in any previous videos throughout the school year, but I did choose to have midwifery care instead of like traditional OBGYN care. Leave me a comment below if you would be interested in me talking about my birth story in more detail. One of the biggest reasons that I chose to go down the midwifery route was because I heard so many negative birthing stories from so many women. And so that just really led me to research what midwifery care was about and what traditional hospital care offered. And I just really wanted to have like the best experience. I chose my midwifery team very carefully, and I think I did mention that I had a very easygoing pregnancy, thank God. I'll start recapping from when I started my maternity leave. My maternity leave started April 6th, which was my due date. And baby was not here. I still felt totally normal, so I was 40 weeks at that point. All the family was super excited for baby boy. On my husband's side, this was going to be grandbaby number 2. And then on my side, which I really just have like my parents and my sister here, all of our family lives in Mexico. But so for my mom, this was grandbaby number 1, and she was just like over the moon excited. And so baby was not here. I remember it was a Thursday. Felt totally fine, and I actually went back to my old school to visit my old kids because I missed them and I really wanted to see them. And all of my previous kinder class ended up in the same first grade classroom, so I reached out to the teacher and I was like, is it okay if I stop by? And of course, she's super sweet. I stopped by towards the end of the day, so I got to just spend a little chunk of time with my old kids from my previous class, and then I stayed at dismissal, so I got to see some other old students. I really enjoyed that, and it was so funny to see they were just in shock that I was pregnant, and I'm sure just because I look so different. But yeah, I felt totally fine. Baby was not there on his due date, and I felt like if I went on a walk, because I did hear a lot about that being just a natural form to induce yourself, like to get things going. And I felt like if I did go on a walk that it would get things going, but I was honestly like just procrastinating. And I remember that following day, that Friday, it was a rainy day. So I was like, okay, well, I guess I can't go on a walk today. And then that Saturday, the weather was fine. It was pretty nice. And again, this is my mom's first grandbaby, so she was super excited. She came from work straight over here. She's like, let's go on a walk. So we went on a 2-mile walk. And I remember we ended around 3:30ish that afternoon. And sure enough, by 5 o'clock, my contractions started. And so all in all, I was in labor for 58 hours, which sounds insane, but it was fine. I'm not going to go into details because I'm going to go on and on. But baby was not here until Tuesday, April 11th. He was born at 4:12 in the morning. I had him at the birthing center with my midwives. We got to the birthing center that Monday night at 10 p.m. And yeah, I didn't have him till that Tuesday at 4 in the morning. And I would just overall describe my birthing experience as magical. I consider myself very blessed that I had a really great experience. I would say that I was very mentally prepared for just knowing that it was absolutely like the hardest thing that I've ever done, of course. But having just such a different type of care, and I knew my midwives. I had like a main midwife, a student midwife, and then a nurse totally dedicated to my care. And I would really describe midwives as like birthing coaches. They're just coaching you through different positions, working with gravity to help baby keep descending down the birthing canal. I did get in the birthing tub, and that was lovely. And just knowing how to breathe through your contractions. It's such a simple thing to do, but it helps tremendously. Overall, going into the birth, what I was most afraid of is just what contractions would feel like. And for me, it just felt like really bad period cramps, obviously like the worst period cramps ever. But it was very manageable breathing through them. It was an unmedicated birth as well. And I just had my husband there and my mom there for support. Everything went really well. And baby's name is Gabriel, and he's so freaking adorable. I'm filming this on a Saturday. Today's Saturday, August 5th. So this upcoming Friday, the 11th, like he's going to be 4 months, which is insane. That whole first week of his birth, my mom was here to help us. Overall, just adjusting to baby. Honestly, throughout my pregnancy, I did not do like a lot of research. I didn't read any books. I didn't want to overwhelm myself, and I just take it a day at a time, a challenge at a time. And likewise with my husband, just embracing this, living through this together. Something that we did that really helped our second postpartum week when we went for a checkup with our midwives. Something that one of the midwives recommended was for us to take shifts and to sleep in at least like 4-hour increments so that we could go into that restorative sleep. And that was amongst the best advice that we got. That first week was absolutely like just survival. The feeding that first week was, oh my God, it was really hard. Baby did not latch when he was first born, but I did start producing milk. I had him that Tuesday, and that Thursday evening, my milk came in, which I had no expectations as far as breastfeeding because I didn't want to disappoint myself with having the expectation that I was going to breastfeed. Again, a day at a time. I was like, if I can breastfeed, awesome. If I can't, there's formula, as long as my baby is fed. But my milk did come in that Thursday evening, and oh my God, y'all, like I was so excited. I was so excited to pump, and I ended up getting these hands-free electric pumps. And mind you, like I should have researched more. I had no idea about the flange size, y'all. So after about a couple weeks, it started hurting to have to pump, but I did schedule an appointment with a lactation specialist, which that was like one of the best things that I did. It was so helpful. And then that lactation specialist, she was just like phenomenal. And so she helped me latch baby, which with her help, like he was able to latch like this, like on the first try on both breasts. So we got the hang of that right away. But then she was also able to measure me for the right flange size for my pumps. So I ordered the right flange size, and like the pumping situation was better right away. And just postpartum overall, that's just been the biggest adjustment is the pumping. Like again, I was so excited those first couple of weeks, and then it just started to feel like a chore, and it still does. It feels like the biggest chore ever, but I'm just gonna keep at it because number one, my body is producing milk, and I'm not doing anything special. For the most part, I eat pretty healthy, but I don't go out of my way to like have a certain type of diet. So my production is there, so I just feel like I need to take advantage of that. I think the secret is hydration. I've always been really good about drinking water. That's just a habit that I have. So I think that's why I have like pretty good milk production. So thankfully, it hasn't been an issue. And I'm pumping like on a good day, like every 4 hours, but it really ranges. I try to do every 4 to 5 hours. Sometimes it goes up to 6 hours. Yeah, the production is good. And then secondly, it is the most ideal feeding that can be given to baby. And number 3, it is free. We don't have to spend money on formula. So I'm just gonna keep at it. My plan is to do it for a year. The recommendation is for baby to be breastfed for a year. I really only breastfeed him for his night feedings. Thankfully, his sleep has gotten better too. We're putting him to bed at like 9, but he'll wake up anytime. I would say between 2 and 5 in the morning usually. So that early morning feeding is when I do the breastfeeding. But other than that, I've been pumping and we've just been bottle feeding because that's just been the best thing for us. And my husband is just wonderful. So it is really helpful that I'm pumping, and then I just store our milk. I'm freezing a lot of it as well. And my mother-in-law has a deep freezer, so she's been like stashing breast milk. And then with going back to work, we are incredibly lucky that my mother-in-law has the flexibility of watching baby, so he's not going to daycare. He goes with grandma. Whenever I went back to work and I let my managers know that I would need a place and a time to pump, they said that they would have a room for me. And it just ended up being like a storage room. I figured out a little routine for myself as far as pumping at work. I did not have the bras for pumping, and I was wearing a regular bra, and then I needed to change into one of my cami nursing bras so that it was stretchy enough for my hands-free pump to fit. It was the whole thing. My mother-in-law actually reminded me that insurance pays for breast pumps. I realized I need to get just a regular pump with flanges, and I need a pumping bra. So then I ended up just getting one of the Spectra breast pumps. I think it's the S1. And then I ended up investing in just really nice bras that are pumping / breastfeeding bras from Kindred Bravely. I do love that Spectra pump. It's been really great. So I haven't been using my hands free anymore. So just kind of to wrap up things with baby, he's doing really well. In these past couple of weeks, like he's become so chatty, and it's like the most precious thing ever. I love hearing him talk and talking with him. It's my favorite. And contact naps too. We do keep him in a bassinet. He sleeps right next to me. He's actually not here right now. So some Saturday nights or Saturday evenings, we've been letting close family keep him overnight just so Alex and I can get a night of decent sleep. And then we'll go get him tomorrow afternoon. It's just been like the fastest 3 months of my life. I did get my 12 weeks of maternity leave, and I didn't go back to work until June 29th. So it was a Thursday. And wow, it's been quite the month. So the biggest piece of news came during my maternity leave, and it was a bit out of the blue. And I'm not going to name my district, but our district got entirely new administration, and there's been some drastic, enormous changes that have been going on that started in the month of June. And my co-workers were kind enough to just keep me in the loop of everything that was going on. But essentially at probably mid-June, I found out that our position as instructional coaches was going to be eliminated. So that was a big bummer, because before I left for my maternity leave, so in around March, we were told that we were going to keep our jobs for another year. I did go into this job knowing that it was temporary. It was ESSER funded, and so I don't remember the entire acronym. I think it's elementary and secondary economic relief something funds, but It was basically that extra COVID money that schools throughout the United States got. Every state got it, and then every state decided how they were going to spend it. They distributed it to districts, and then the districts decided how they were going to use it. In my district, decided to hire a lot of instructional coaches, which is how I ended up in the position this past school year. Again, we were told that we were going to continue it for one more year. So I did go into my maternity leave being like, okay, well, I get to come back to this job. I knew just so many things that I could do better as a coach this second year. But yeah, we were given the news that our position was going to be eliminated. And I've actually been really calm about the whole thing. And I think it's primarily because before I had baby, I knew that I didn't want to be working full time. Last week in particular was really hard. Our last official day in our instructional coaching position was last Friday, July 28th. And it was actually really emotional. The team that I was a part of was just phenomenal. The most humble people that I've ever met. And it was a really emotional day because since our position was eliminated, it basically got retitled. And instead of 20 coaching positions, there was only 16. And we were recommended to reapply for the new positions, but it just wasn't going to be the same because the duties were going to change, and there's so much uncertainty right now in the district. And so I already knew that I wasn't going to reapply, that I was just going to look for something else. But that team was truly a family. I don't think I'll ever have a year like the year that I had this past year. It was just an amazing year. And so we were all just very heartbroken. It was a very emotional Friday. I would say a little over half of the team made the choice not to return, and then the others did decide to reapply and stayed with their department. But yeah, I made the choice not to stay just because there was too much uncertainty, and with having baby, I just didn't want to be stressed. I wanted something that was a little bit more predictable. I actually only applied to one position in my school district, and then I was like, if I get this, I'll stay in the district, but if I don't get it, it's fine. I'm just going to move districts. I was really only back at work for a month, so it almost felt like a trial run of being a working mom. Last week in particular, I was very emotional because I just felt like I was barely spending any time with baby. My mother-in-law lives way more west side of town, which my husband works towards that side of town, so he's able to drop baby off and pick him up. But coming back in the afternoons, they wouldn't get home till around 6:30ish, just depending on how traffic was. So they'd get back. I'd give baby a shower. We would feed him, but then again, he's in bed by 9. So I just felt like I was barely spending any time with him. So that was another factor as to why I didn't want to reapply for the position in my department, because it is getting off an hour later than teachers, plus traffic. And I can't be that person to where I'm okay with only seeing my baby for a few hours a day. I just can't. So the position that I applied for was as a part-time interventionist, and it was actually at one of the schools that I was helping this past school year. It was at the Montessori school that was one of my assigned schools. So I was like, oh my goodness, this must be a sign. I need to apply for this job. It's part-time, so that means I get to spend more time with baby. I went through my finances and I budgeted what I would need to make to supplement what what he makes. So I was like, if I find something part-time, we should be okay. It'll be very tight budget, but we'll be okay. And I'll get to spend more time with baby. So I did end up getting the part-time interventionist position, and I was happy because I know the campus, I know some of the teachers that I worked with, the admin was really great. It's a nice school. Whenever I interviewed, it was a very laid back interview. It was more of a conversation of what the position was going to look like, which was going to be 9 to 3, 4 days a week. But again, since it was part-time, I was going to be hourly. So one of the cons about the position was that I would get holidays off, but I wouldn't get paid for them, and that would be a big problem in the summer. But I accepted the position, and I was waiting for my offer letter and just how everything played out. Like, I know that just God put me where I'm just meant to be for the school year. The week after I accepted the part-time interventionist position, I got a phone call from one of the assistant principals at another one of the schools that I was working at this past school year. And her phone call was kind of like general, how are you doing? How's baby? Because she hadn't heard from me. So it was really sweet of her to call. I did let her know that I was waiting to officially accept the part-time interventionist, and she wished me luck and whatnot. And that was it. But then the following day, she called me again, and she offered me a position at her school, which was so out of the blue. I did not expect it. And so originally she offered me a early literacy coaching position / teaching. So the reason for that was because the principal, which the admin there is great. That was one of my favorite schools. But the principal there didn't want to hire another interventionist. So I was going to have to be a classroom teacher, a pre-K teacher, since she knows that I love pre-K, and that's what I was coaching, the pre-K teachers. So I was going to have my own classroom, but then another chunk of the day I was going to be coaching the pre-K and kinder teachers. So that just sounded really awesome because it was still both of the things that I really like, teaching pre-K and coaching teachers. And it was just more job security. It's something that was more stable. I ran through all of the pros and the cons with the interventionist. If the school needed to cut down on personnel, I knew I was going to be one of the first ones to go. So the assistant principal at that school did talk me into it. And so I accepted the position. But then on July 14th was the last day in our district to resign without being penalized. So we did have a lot of teachers resign, a lot of personnel in the schools resigned. Long story short, her interventionist resigned. And so her plan was for the math interventionist to do my math block so I could go coach teachers. So essentially, the coaching part isn't going to happen, and I'm just going to be a pre-K teacher. So that's what I'm doing this upcoming school year. I will be a pre-K teacher. I'm mostly excited. It's a pretty small school, and last school year there was 3 pre-K classrooms, but she did say that the enrollment numbers are down, so there's just going to be 2 pre-K classrooms. So it'll be myself and one more teacher who I know because I worked with her this past school year. So it's nice going into a school where I at least know some of the teachers, and it's not like I don't know anybody. I know the admin and I know the pre-K and the kinder teachers there. Overall, I'm very, very excited. The only part that I'm nervous about is just the batch of kids. Like, it's always kind of a gamble. You don't know what type of students you're going to end up with. Teachers go back on August 14th. But this upcoming week, I'm going to go and start setting up my classroom because that's just the type of person I am. I like to set up my classroom a week earlier. Another really positive thing about this is that this school is located more so on the west side of town, which is perfect because our lease is also ending at the current apartment that we're in. And oh my goodness, do we need more space, y'all. now with baby, like we are so cramped, and I haven't stressed about how messy and cluttered everything is because I know it is what it is. And I'm going to spin the camera around and just show y'all what a hot mess it is. This is just like what the bedroom looks like. The living room looks even worse, but we just need more space. We started looking at renting a house. We are still not ready to buy a house. There's actually like a ton of houses for rent out in the west side of town, which is, like I said, also where my mother-in-law lives, who she just has the most flexibility to help us with baby. So another thing that actually happened this week was that we did find a house that we're renting, and it's like 10 minutes from her. We do already have the house under contract. So we're going to be slowly moving stuff in and then be officially moved in by the end of September. So it is nice that the school that I'm at is close-ish. I already looked up the route, and it's actually going to be like half an hour. But I know it could be a lot worse. At least my school is towards that side of town. So I think now that's all of the updates that I have for y'all. Like I said, this upcoming week, I'm going to start setting up my classroom. Alex is off on Mondays, and he's going to be the best husband, and he's going to come help me start setting up my classroom on Monday, which I'm thinking is really just getting all of my crap out of storage. I already have a car full of stuff. That'll be my focus for Monday, is just getting all of my things into the classroom. That's my life update right now. So lots of changes coming, but it's all good. And it is going to be interesting to see how I adjust to teaching now that I'm a mom. Okay, y'all, I'm going to stop rambling right now because I told myself this was just going to be like a quick recap of everything that's been going on, but I've been rambling. Like, I need to stop so that it doesn't take me forever to edit this so that I can post it. If you watched all of this, I thank you so much for tuning back in and for listening to me ramble. Thank y'all, and I'll see y'all in the next video. Bye.